Hey guys, Monk2 here, of course, and today we're discussing the Musashi. Now, Musashi is literally down-tiered Yamato, pretty much exactly the same boat with a couple differences. So, 85k health as opposed to Yamato's 90k health, same guns, different secondary layout. If you look at the secondaries here, you got 6 127s as opposed and 4 triple barreled 155s, as opposed to Yamato has more 127s 12, so almost double the amount as well. Really what sells the difference between Yamato and Musashi is two things: the gun accuracy, which is significantly worse on Musashi, and the straight up reduction of all its AA. It says 57 there, but don't let that fool you, it's just not 57. It's actually atrocious. The AA on this boat is atrocious. You can actually look at it. You look at the boat, look at the Musashi real quick here. You see all that space in the deck. Let's go to Yamato. Now, you can see all the extra space on that deck. Look at all those AA amounts. It's all being stripped. There is absolutely no AA, and by tier 8 standards, on Musashi. You will be lucky to shoot down planes. You just won't do it. It will be too much of a challenge for you. And additionally as well, the Yamato has something like 1.7 or 1.8 Sigma, and that's American dispersion. By the way, even though it's Japanese, it's an American dispersion as well, so it's improved. It's really good dispersion on Yamato. You got American 1.8, 1.75 sort of region Sigma, whereas Musashi gets Japanese Sigma values, which are worse, but you do get better grouping at range. They don't improve, they just don't diminish as much over range. As a result, because the accuracy is so bad, and other CCs will tell you it's okay. The grouping is good, but yeah, I'm not going to discuss it anyway more. I'll go more into the game. I'm running Arthas with a full-on AP damage build. I'm a bit more into reload specking, so you fire more often, and the shells that do hit a lot harder. That's 17k, not excluding the 20% buff from Arthas and another 20% from the actual skill he has. So pretty spicy. We'll go into the game. As I said, Musashi accuracy is 1.65 Japanese, as opposed to like 1.8 or 1.75 American dispersion on Yamato. So the difference is significant. That being said, the grouping is usually quite good, but the dispersion is atrocious. And I mean atrocious. You could literally fire a shot, and you can see there we go. Out of 9 shells, we landed 3. Sometimes you get lucky, but the shots are so out there, you can actually land a lot more shots than you would other battleships, but do less damage. It's actually quite consistent because you do not go, the shells don't go where you aim 90% of the time. Like, you see the grouping's pretty good, but the dispersion's all over the place, you know. The grouping's good, but the dispersion's just all over the place. This is a big problem with Musashi. Grouping's fine, but dispersion's all over the place. You'll find that you have many hits, shell hits per se, but you actually won't get many citadels or much damage because you either overpen or even shatter or bounce. Because when you fire Musashi guns, it looks like the wind is taking the shells wherever they want, and it's a sudden change of wind course. You see, look at these shots on Brandenburg. This is with my Arthas build. I want to highlight, but you saw me use. It's more painful. It's very painful using accuracy build of Musashi. Some people can make it work. Yeah, you can get good RNG games, but it's just so inconsistent. I don't think it's worth it. The thing about Musashi though is it's a tier 8 Yamato, which is inherently strong in its own right. Because if you didn't know, 460mm guns, which are 18.1 inch guns, can overmatch 32mm, which is basically every single battleship bow armor in the game, with the exception of a couple icebreakers like Brandenburg. But even then, icebreakers don't usually cover the entirety of the bow, so you can still get some penetrating shots. A lot of deck plating is also 32 as well, like the Amagi and Key. They're particularly vulnerable to the overmatch of 32. It basically means you can punch through the nose of pretty much any battleship you face, including itself. So very powerful if you actually get the right shots. As you can see, though, I mean, Brandenburg's got an icebreaker, so it can bounce your shots, but you can see some of the shots just go everywhere, and it is pretty darn atrocious. But when you run a brawler-esque build with a faster reload, it doesn't matter as much. Your main goal, Musashi, is with, just staying alive. That's why I like the extra heals. I like a brawler commander, a survivability commander for Musashi, as opposed to the accuracy commander that I'd recommend on Yamato. So that's why I recommend. You can, there's other CCs that said other stuff. I just don't. I don't agree, and that's all. You can have different opinions, It's always good to have a little bit of differences there. So yeah, you want to be surviving, getting as close as you can without obviously showing the Yamato cheek citadel, which is just below the front. Just just in front of the front gun. Just be aware of that. At close range, you want to be bow on to your target. You do not want to angle, because if you angle on your target, they can go through that cheek weakness there. There's a bit where the armor bulges. Yeah, I can show a clip of that real quick for you, actually. So just in case you aren't aware, Yamato smacks is there, but you can see heading right in that weakness there, we got a double citadel using Montana. And we're back to the game. So, yeah, 31k so far, and we've landed quite a few shells, honestly, considering Yamato shells. These are 406mm guns, 460mm guns, very big guns. And considering the number of shell hits we've actually had, you'd expect a higher damage number, but as you can see, the shells really do go everywhere but where you aim a lot of the time. This is not running an accuracy build. If you want to see an accuracy build in gameplay, you can see me doing the live stream. There, you can skip it like 4 hours ahead because the stupid menus. But you can see the grouping is really good. That grouping is wonderful. You see that? Really good grouping, but Dispersion said no. So that is the biggest drawback of Musashi. Its dispersion is atrocious in comparison to the Sigma value, in comparison to the Yamato. It does. The numbers say the thing has got significantly worse Sigma value, which is shell grouping, but the shell grouping seems to be okay. It's the Sigma, it's a dispersion value that's really, really bad. Again, you can spec into it, and if you are going to build for an accuracy Musashi, your emphasis is on dispersion, not shell grouping. So basically, you run, if you have Ale Scharnhorst, Azurine Scharnhorst, she is the one you want to use as an inspiration. And if you're running like a build focused around marksmanship and flammable cannoneer. Flammable cannoneer is not useful again because it's shell grouping, but you want to use that marksmanship for the additional dispersion. You need that dispersion buffed because, as you can see, the shells usually are pretty close together, but the dispersion, where you actually aim, is completely different to where the shells actually land. So that is to do with your dispersion, not your grouping. Because that's there. So Sigma values your grouping. Again, more information on shell, Sigma, dispersion. I'm talking all these terms here, and it is quite complicated. So I will link my Discord. It's in every video I post, pretty much. Join the Discord. I have a well step-by-step guide on how, basically explaining how Sigma and dispersion works. If you're wondering, you know, if you're a bit confused on that regard. Anyway, yeah. Well, would you buy the boat? That's the next question I think I would like to answer. And honestly, it's a good boat. It's the whole purpose of Musashi is a tier 8 Yamato, which means you can fight tier 7s. And tier 7s are especially weak to Yamato because 32mm is probably as high as they get. There's only a couple exceptions at tier 7. There's quite a lot of boats at tier 7, but like boats like Siegfried get ruined. Edinburgh doesn't matter because you overmatch 32, so Edinburgh Bow means nothing to you. Vanguard's especially squishy because it's all 32. Maggie's really squishy because it's all 32. Key's especially squishy because it has a weakened, reduced armor citadel over a Maggie and is also 32. You know, you can really get some horrifically good shots in tier 7. You murder tier 7s. The thing about Musashi is you have that tier 7 matchmaking, which is really what is the biggest selling point of the ship, because it's just a worst Yamato in almost every way. There's actually no pros over this boat in comparison to Yamato, but the only pro, if we're talking about positives here, is it's in tier 8, which means you can fight tier 7s. And when you're down tiered, when you're fighting tier 7s, Musashi is a beast. But when you're up tiered, you're fighting boats like Yamato, you'll struggle a little bit in comparison. You're still having these incredible 460mm overmatching guns, and you can overmatch yourself as well, which means you can overmatch other Yamatos, you can overmatch Musashis, pretty much everything bar the Frederick and the GK. You know, you just chunk Conqueror. You do really well against a lot of ships. These guns are what's going to carry you. But the thing about Musashi, it will struggle against any carrier, tier 7 or legendary, especially legendary. But again, everything struggles against legendary carriers. That video is coming up soon. But yeah, I mean, it's a question whether do you love Yamato and do you want to see Yamato fight tier 7s? If yes, Musashi. If not, then just stick with Yamato because there's no point. As you can see, sometimes you get really nice shots because all it needs to happen with an Arthas-esque build, at least what I'm currently running, is you need to land 1 or 2 citadels. 1 citadel, massive damage, like 17k plus. Especially if you use a fighter, it's even more than that. and you can really do some nice stuff. There's the fighter again. So the shell grouping, as you can see, looks wonderful. All those four shells really well grouped together. One citadel, and that is enough to straight up just demolish their remaining health of the other Musashi there. You can see a brawler build is much more suitable for Musashi just due to its inaccuracy. But again, I want to highlight a lot of CCs will be telling you these things. It's not as accurate as you think. It's more accurate than you think. It's got good grouping, but this dispersion is all over the place. I can't stress that enough. The dispersion is like, the grouping is great. You see the grouping here? The likelihood of the shells being together? Great. Dispersion though? No. It's really bad. And it's just, that's the biggest problem with this. The lack of AA is noticeable because Yamato does have a lot of good AA. But at the end of the day, it's a carrier. It honestly doesn't matter too much because if he wants to kill you, he will kill you. A tier 7 carrier can kill a Yamato. A legendary carrier can certainly kill a Yamato. And they're still going to do the same thing to Musashi. If you want AA, you need to find someone else to group with because you're not going to have any here, essentially. You might shoot down planes, but how plane works in this game, plane damage isn't recorded on the top right of the screen like on PC. So you'll get like the finishing shot, you know? A person behind you, whoever that boat is, that cruiser next to me, he'll just do all the damage to the plane and one of my A guns will finish the shot. That's the only way you're going to shoot down planes. Unless you're being super focused, and even then, you're probably not going to do much. But as you can see, I think the brawler build's better. We're going to go more testing into it before I build the masterclass for it. But I do think the brawler build is the better way to go. And in terms of whether you want the Yamato, Musashi, sorry, whether you want Musashi in your port is really if you like to have a Yamato in tier 7. But you need to remember this Yamato in tier 7 has significantly worse accuracy in terms of dispersion mostly, and no AA. But yeah, whether you're willing to take that sacrifice for Yamato guns is up to you. Especially when played by Chris there in my division, 3.4k, 4 kills. Unfortunately no cracking for him, but hey, there's always next time. Guys, hope you had a lovely day. I've got the Kuryu video coming up next, so hope you enjoy that. That'll be coming next tomorrow probably. So yeah guys, I'll catch you all next time and have a lovely day. Bye for now.